Hello guys, and welcome back to the Bushcraft shelter. It was last weekend I did actually do a overnighter here, but I haven't been able to this weekend because quite simply I've been doing family things, and I've been starting to get a memorial made in our garden for the wife, because it's you know, something that we need to do to remember somebody special. But putting that to one side, I've managed to get out for it's the last period of the day on Sunday, and I've got basically a couple hours of light left, and I've come to the Bushcraft shelter to actually see where I am with my aiming and use of a really primitive hunting weapon or tool, and that is a throwing stick. Now, you can go from basically just a stick to something like this, all the way up to where the Aboriginals have got the boomerang, which is like a sophisticatedly shaped piece of wood to actually give you lift and momentum and distance. Something like this. There is a little bit more than just being a stick. As you can see, I've got a weighted end, and it's got a slight curve and almost like a knuckle for a handle. The reason being, when I throw this curve and this knuckle allows me to give it a flick. Now that flick will send it with a bit more momentum, and also it will start a really tight spin. Now that spin around this central mass here not only gives it a little bit more distance when it strikes the target, whether it be on the handle end or the club or the bulbous end here, it gives it a little bit more oomph and impact. You can trace throwing sticks, as I was saying, all the way back to the very early periods of man beginning to hunt, whether that was with a sharpened stick, a stone, or an item like this. And there's evidence even into Europe that these were used for waterfowl and things of that particular nature. I'm guessing once you've disturbed a waterfowl, they're starting to take off. As a flock, a dense flock of birds, you would throw this, and as it span, and with sort of like a 40 centimetre distance, you stood a fair chance of hitting a bird and bringing it down. Maybe not killing it, but disabling it enough for you to get on it and finish it off, and thus providing you with a meal. The reason I'm fascinated by them is, as I've said, it takes you right back to prehistory sort of period, and I'm fascinated, and this isn't where it's going to stop for me. There's a couple items that I want to make this summer, or see if I can recreate, going back to sort of almost Stone Age technology, and seeing if I can recreate them and how they feel to use. But I've come out here just to see what my accuracy is like. I haven't used this since my eye injury. When I throw this, I don't use either one eye. I use both. I know I have a bad one, but I'm hoping because I have a little bit of forward vision from it, I might still be able to hit a target. So if you're into bushcraft, going right the way back to something like this not only covers a survival aspect of being outdoors, but from a bushcraft perspective, it takes you right back to the very beginnings of bushcraft, and you can almost feel history when you're practicing with something like this. And you can imagine people doing this when you're throwing it and practicing trying to hit a target. You can almost feel yourself in the footsteps of your ancestors, because they would have spent many hours practicing with something like this. So I'm going to get a bag, fill it with some debris, and I'm going to see if I can hit it. There's no guarantees. I haven't tried since my eye injury, and I bet it's been probably 5 months since I've thrown this. So I'm going to get set up and we'll see what I can do with this. Right, you can see my target there, and I'm basically using the camp as a backstop because quite simply I don't want to lose this stick. It's not that it's worth anything value wise, but to me it's quite well balanced, and the last occasions I was throwing it, it did feel nice in the hand. It was perfectly weighted, and I was getting some reasonable accuracy from it. And you can imagine, well, like I said, back in history, people would become attached to something as basic as a, well, throwing stick like what I've got, because it felt good and they were able to achieve their aims. And I can feel that with this particular stick that I've got there. It does seem to work, so I don't really want to lose it. I'm in a forest, there's 1,001 sticks lying about, but that one stick is mine, and that stick there works quite well. So there it is, and like I said, I'm hoping if I go wide, something here is going to stop the stick. This is going to be my range, and I won't be no further out than about there. A throwing stick isn't a distance weapon. It is basically a close range weapon or tool to stun a small game like a rabbit, a pheasant, a grouse, or some sort of like a hare or something along that lines at close range. You get it to bolt, and as it bolts or it freezes when you come across it, you would then dispatch it by hitting it with the throwing stick and then getting on top of it before it recovered its senses and finish it off. That's primarily how it would have been done. So looking back up the range, there. Right, let's throw one or two down. I did actually hit the bottom, but I'm actually aiming for the centre mass. That hit down here and then rebounded into the shelter. Now I did hit the corner by about 2 or 3 inches and it's shot off there. That's the advantage of a longer throwing stick. It just gives you almost just over a foot of potential hit. Even if you didn't hit with a direct thump, you've still hit the actual target, so that could shock it and, like I said, give you a chance to get a follow-up shot with a second throwing stick, or run and grab the well, unfortunate animal. Now that hit centre mass, and that was a solid thump, and something like this weighing probably half a kilo, I would say. That's a lot of weight to be hitting close range and hitting a direct strike. That would definitely hurt. But I'm going to gradually get my eye in and gradually work back. That distance that I'm throwing there would represent like you walking along a hedgerow or or basically through a thicket, and you startled a rabbit, hare or ground bird, and as they just quickly ran out, stopped and looked at you from possibly 10 meters, you could get your shot off. But yeah, I don't have a lot of confidence to get out, I don't know, out to 15 meters. That extra 5 meters is a long way back for a throwing stick using it like I am here. But I'm here, and I'm here to try and get some practice. So let's crack on. Right, from here, where you can see I'm standing, you can see I've scuffed the ground up. We're just going to measure it in meters. Nothing scientific, this is just guesswork, but we can do our best. So from here, if I stand here, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, about 10 meters. Incidentally, when I did miss one of them, I know this log is rotted, but if you wanted just a quick indication of how hard it does hit, it's blown a complete side, and it is wet, I know that, as you can see, but it hit that and smashed the load off. It does hit hard. So yeah, let's carry on. You can also see it's giving the bag a bit of jip now. It's beginning to split it. I skimmed the top of the bag and it actually broke out one of the porch logs, and not where I've binded it, but where I've rammed it in the ground. It's took a bit of a blow on there, but it moved it possibly 4 inches. Don't take anything like this as you know, you're messing about as a toy, like start throwing anything like this at each other. Something like this can do a lot of damage, and incidentally, any reference I'm making to hunting is theoretical. It's not anything that you should be doing, because quite simply it's illegal in the UK, as it is in a lot of other countries. There are people that do hunt with throwing sticks to this day, you know, where it's legally allowed. But here in the UK, I know for a fact that it's not legal. So anything, if you're watching from any other country, obviously do your own research whether anything like this would be legal to hunt with. And from an ethical point of view, unless you were really confident and you were hitting the target, you know, pretty much bang on, I would say 9 times out of 10, I wouldn't consider it ethical in this day and age. all I'm doing is target practice, like from a bushcraft survival point of view, and just having some entertainment while being out in the forest. And what more cheap entertainment can you get than finding a good throwing stick, perhaps adapting it a little bit to your needs and throwing style, and having some target practice? Just a bag filled with some forest litter and throwing it and seeing how good you can get. And some of us, or some of you guys, if you were to do it, would get quite proficient at it. For me, it's a bit of a struggle, but I am able to hit the target even with a damaged eye. 50% of my throws are landing somewhere on the target, and possibly 1/3 center mass. And I'm enjoying it. It's a bit of fun. I'm going to get a coffee on in a minute, but I'm just going to take a few more shots before I do lose more light. And I can feel a little hint of rain, which is a shame because we've had a good run of good weather just recently. Well, I enjoyed that, and I feel very satisfied that I can still hit a target in the 10 to 15 meter range with a degree of regularity. So yeah, I feel like I've achieved my aim, just coming, if nothing else, just to prove to myself that I can, even though I do have bad eyesight at the moment. But I'm going to get a cup of coffee on, and light is beginning to fade in here. And the wind is beginning to get up as well. But yeah, a nice little bit of fun, just a bit of target practice. And you know, that's what it's about, coming to the forest and just doing your own thing. Right, yeah, I'm going to have a cup of coffee and just enjoy the woodlands for a moment before I go back home. I have noticed I've put a lot of weight on, and you probably would have noticed that from my recent videos, and I aim to do something about that. Quite simply, I found myself stuck in the workshop with custom orders, and it's been a roller coaster of just, you know, woodshed, workshop, straightening, and I've been in that workshop till about sort of like, I don't know, 10 o'clock on some evenings, wood burning, because I'm slow because of my eye and it takes me longer. Yeah, quite simply, I haven't really been looking after myself. I've been basically a cup of coffee, chocolate biscuits while I'm working away, and it's taken its toll. But due to the fact I have an operation on the horizon, I'm going to lose a bit of weight, get back into shape a little bit more, quite simply, you know, basically for my health. And on top of that, yeah, it's I can actually feel it now when I'm out hiking. So, you know, when you reach that point, you know it's time to do something about it. And because my custom orders are tailing off, which I purposely done, and I've talked about that, because quite simply, I'm going to need a recovery period once I've had my eye operation. It's pointless me creating a backlog of work for myself. So yeah, hopefully I can do something about the weight. Hopefully I can get something done about my eye, and hopefully I can get back to a kind of even sort of like work, family, and play lifestyle, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I do feel good though. There's something inside me that feels really good that I've broke the back, and my last big push of custom orders has gone out the door. I'm back to just doing my basic hiking sticks, and I'll do that as a in trickle mode till I get my eye fixed now. Right, sitting down with my coffee, and it's really nice. I'm enjoying this. Like I say, it's been a bit hectic this weekend. I've broke the back of doing the paving, getting the greenhouse down, making the seat for that memorial garden. I've got a pond and a water feature and things like that to do, but that can be added over time. So yeah, that a productive weekend. But you're probably thinking, why is a grown man in the woods throwing a stick? Well, to be honest with you, on an evolutionary scale of things and a historic scale of things, from where somebody would be doing what I've just been doing, and I'm doing it for fun, and they would have done it for survival, to where we are now, where, you know, we've evolved from throwing stones and then sticks, spears, bows and arrows, up to early firearms, and then obviously muskets, to cartridge rifles, to where we're now sort of like, well, you've got RPGs, javelins, missiles, and drones and things like that. You can see how weaponry and tools of destruction have evolved, and for various purposes. All I am doing is something that your ancestors would have done, and I'm doing it for a bit of fun and target practice. But from a survival and bushcraft point of view, it's, you know, a bit of fun in the woodlands. But like I said, a survival point of view, if you were able to identify a stick or type of stick that you could throw and possibly harvest small game, and people will say you're not going to get nothing at that distance. Small game tends to go to ground. If you've hunted or are a hunter, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you don't, trust me on the fact that small game and game birds, if you get close and they think they can get away with just letting you walk past, they'll hunker down and go to ground, and that is this kind of distance you would be able to get them. If you spotted them like hiding in that bush, you could get them with a throwing stick. It's, you know, by no means a stretch of an imagination. Like I say, people still harvest game to this day in certain parts of the world. But as I've said, in the UK and possibly other countries, look up your own laws, as I keep saying, you know, it's a strict no-no, it's illegal. So yeah, and for you know, for safety's sake, don't be throwing anything like this around people. Like I said, if you could hear how hard it's hitting bits of wood and that bag, you would do a lot of damage and really hurt somebody if you hit them. So yeah, safety always. And yeah, like I say, I'm doing this quite simply as entertainment, but it does have bushcraft and survivalist you know, purpose, and it is relevant in those veins. I'm going to stop talking and drink my coffee now. Right then guys, I'm heading off out of camp now, But the track that I have been using, which is a bigger circular that comes into camp rather than the shorter way I could come in, I'm now going to actually deviate off that track. There's beginning to get the first telltale signs of a constantly used trackway, so I'm going to leave that and I won't be using that again now, or at least till I can see that it's healed up and it doesn't look like it's being used. I'll give you a quick look at the two varying tracks. The first one that goes down through a slightly boggier route, and I don't use that quite simply because you leave footprints. In the summer it's okay, but this time of year you can leave footprints. And the long winding way, which I use to kind of deceive people which way I'm heading, it's just beginning to show that I'm using it. So I'll let you have a look, then I'll show you where I'm heading off. Right, you can just see that track there very faintly, and that's my long winding track, and it really does go a long way out of my way, further than I need to get to camp. And this is my first original path, and you could probably just see it there and heading off down that way, but it does get boggy down there. So you can see where it splits. It makes no difference here, but I'm going to have to branch out now, and instead of following this path down through there, it's very faint, but if you were really clued up, you could see somebody had been walking there. I'm actually going to head out this way, and I'm going to head all the way out around that way. Yet again, a longer way, but it's kind of necessary. So it's not theatrics just for YouTube or anything like that, or trying to make this even more interesting than I can actually make it. There is a purpose. I've put the effort in to build that camp, so if I can, you know, save it from being discovered needlessly by me, you know, not adopting good fieldcraft while I'm in the woodlands, I shall do everything I can within my power to keep that little area secret from prying eyes. Yeah, this woodland is quietish, but there will still be people wandering through, possibly hunters or foresters, and tracks do tend to lead people to places that you might not want them to go. And I'm just utilizing my knowledge to try and keep that place from being discovered. I will discuss all this in that group of videos that I talked about, where I'm going to discuss how I go about wild camping, and that will cover into this field of bushcrafting side of things. But yeah, I plan to get those in mid-flow in the summer when it's t-shirt kind of weather and we can enjoy being out in the woodlands in that weather. Got a helicopter going over. Hope he hasn't got infrared. But yeah, all I'm doing is trying to stop people finding my camp, and after all the effort I put in, it would just be stupid just to give the game away straight away. So as I said, this woodland is a quiet woodland. There's a few people that live on the perimeter that walk their dogs. There is no car parks, there's nothing like that to actually come here and use it for leisure. There are people that do come from a couple of the surrounding farms. They have access to get to some land that they own on the perimeter, and the only way they can get to it is through these forest tracks. There is something I'm going to show you on the floor here, and this wasn't here when I crossed this actual track a couple days ago. So I've come through a different part of the forest. I've come down here, and I have walked this track previously, but there's some fresh tracks, and I'll show you what I mean by being able to just, you don't have to be a tracker, but you can read what's happened here, and I'll show you. Right, looking at this ground, you may faintly see tractor marks there. They were there when I last came, but there's a load of other track marks here. you can see the telltale sign of a single bike track there, which you can see running down there. And if you look at the tread, you can see which way it's run. It has gone downhill. And I know there is an entrance there back out into a farm lane. But what I'm going to show you is this. This might look confusing to you, but you can see a very small horseshoe. Now that's obviously a pony size, but what I mean by you can read the picture, you can see a horseshoe inside of where the pony is kind of slid. But if you come down here, you can start to see he's kind of got a little bit all over the place, but you start to see footprints alongside which are fresh. So I would suggest that pony was being led by somebody, and they get a bit mixed and jumbled up here. And obviously it was a little bit unsteady or something like that, because it's a little bit all over the place. So instantly I can see somebody's been in here with a small pony, possibly being led by an adult. Somebody's come down through here with a mountain bike, and something up here which I didn't show you, which wasn't here the other day. Those tread marks there, those are from like an ATV or one of those what are they called, vehicles, small farm vehicles, which is almost like a four-wheeled motorbike, but it's got like a cabin, a canopy on top of it. I forget what they're actually called now. Alligator or something like that, or a gator, something like that. But yeah, you don't have to be a tracker to read what's going on. That's what I'm saying. Very rudimentary reading of ground signs will let you know what's happened here. And what I've just shown you has happened from when I last come on this part of the track. See, yet again, a horseshoe with a boot print inside of it. More horseshoes and boot prints as well. Right then, let's have a little bit of fun, and by those tracks, let's just try and create a scenario then. Well, those tractor tracks were going up through there when I last came along that bit of track, so they're old. So and it looks like basic small tractor, not a forester. So I would suggest that's a small farm tractor going to agricultural land. So a farmer is using that, but I don't see much in the way of returning tracks, so it was probably a once-off visit. Now the horse, that could be a farmer's wife with a pony with a daughter on it. You know, this is all surmising. We're making up a story to fit those tracks, but I only see the one set of tracks, and it's not heavily used. They may have had permission to come in here, because like I said, the farmers do have access to these tracks to go to agricultural land, but they haven't come back in. And those tracks there are obviously made when it was wet. It's been dry for a few days, so you know, that's not being heavily used. And that gator, that wasn't there when the tractor tracks, that's gone up through afterwards. So I would suggest possibly somebody in here, maybe hunting, or a farmer again going to check on land. But yet again, not heavy traffic with that. But as you can see, you can start to make a profile, and you can put a story in your head, and that can help you figure out how you want to act in this woodland. Now, my main concern would be those mountain bike tracks, because this isn't public access. I'm not supposed to be here, and I'm pretty much guessing they wouldn't be, because let's face it, if you're a farmer or a farmer's son or daughter, you're not going to cycle when you can use and have a lot more fun on a four-wheel bike or gator or tractor and trundle through these woods. So somebody has obviously took it upon themselves, as I have, to come in here on their own back, and they're obviously trundling around on a mountain bike and would have had excellent fun on these tracks. But it also leads to the fact, if you want to profile somebody by that, I would strongly suggest you're probably looking at a male, and possibly somebody within from teenage years up to possibly midlife, because obviously once you start getting older, you're possibly not wanting to go and do things like this, come into woodlands on your own back. So somebody was obviously prepared to do that. So yeah, I'm probably saying 18 35 age group, and that would be the prime candidate for age group who may see tracks and go, I wonder where they go, and follow them, so they could possibly identify my camp. So yeah, I do know somebody is in here, and the reason I'm not being sexist by saying male, because it's not stretch of imagination for a female to do it. I'm just saying, when you profile, you take the biggest percentage of reality, and you kind of work with that, and that's what I've done. So yeah, just a little bit of fun there. So would I be making any decisions or actions or thoughts based on what I've seen there? Well, like I said, I'm not a professional tracker. I'm only trying to gain some understanding by what I can actually see through ground signs. And yes, it has given me a little bit of food for thought. And yeah, I will obviously, because of what I've said, particularly regarding how I believe that possibly somebody a lot younger and possibly male could be now, you know, floating around these woodlands. Also, I will take extra care and vigilance in how I get to the bushcraft camp. So yeah, which brings me full circle round to what we were talking about when we left, about just being careful and using good fieldcraft. Well then, some of you will know where we're to, and this is the part of the video I say goodbye as I make my way down this track. But I hope you enjoyed just coming into the woodlands. It was a very mundane video, but it's something I thought I would film, because I was going to come in here and just throw a few sticks and see if I could achieve any kind of accuracy with my stick throwing. I do enjoy it, it's a bit of fun, and like I said, I like the fact that our ancestors would do it. And I do have a couple projects I would like to do in the summer, which step back into possibly this time frame, and see if I can recreate them. So stay tuned for that. But for the moment, all that's left to be said is take care, stay safe, and I hope to catch you guys on the trail.